He had her pressed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Seoul penthouse before she could catch her breath, his mouth desperate against hers. 4 years of emptiness had carved Min-jae hollow until Becky walked into his world, and suddenly his frozen heart roared back to life with a ferocity that terrified him. She'd agreed to 1 season, 3 months of playing his companion for enough money to transform her family's fate back in Lagos. But as his fingers traced the curve of her spine and she whispered his name like a sacred thing, he knew their arrangement was built on lies. 90 days would never be enough. And when winter ended and she tried to leave, he'd follow her across continents because she wasn't just the cure to his affliction. She was the air in his lungs, and without her he'd suffocate. Hit subscribe because this story is about to get intense and you won't want to miss a single moment. The rain hammered against the windows of Eclipse, the most exclusive private club in Gangnam. Kang Min-jae sat in the owner's suite on the 3rd floor, his expression carved from marble as 3 men in tailored suits discussed shipping routes and territory agreements. They were negotiating the kind of business that happened in shadows, the trade that kept his empire running smoothly as clockwork. But Min-jae barely registered their words. For 4 years he had moved through existence like a specter. He conducted meetings, issued commands, expanded his reach across East Asia. But he felt absolutely nothing. The toxin that nearly ended his life had stolen something more valuable than breath. It had stolen his capacity to experience the world. No rage, no pleasure, no hunger, nothing. Medical specialists called it extensive neurological damage. Irreversible, they told him with sympathetic faces. He was breathing but not alive. Tonight felt identical to every other night, hollow and cold and utterly meaningless. Then the private performance space darkened and a single spotlight illuminated the small stage. Min-jae glanced toward it without interest. Another entertainer. He owned this establishment, so he had witnessed countless acts. They all blurred together into forgettable movement and empty spectacle. But then she stepped into that circle of light and something in his chest twisted violently. The woman who moved across that stage was utterly different. She had deep brown skin that seemed to glow under the illumination like polished mahogany. Her body moved with a confidence that made his throat tight. But it wasn't just her obvious beauty that seized his attention. It was how she carried herself, graceful yet powerful, and there was an authenticity in her expression that didn't belong in a place like this. She danced like she was speaking without words, her movements fluid as water, and the music seemed to live inside her bones. Min-jae's heart slammed against his ribs once, twice, 3 brutal strikes. His hand gripped the armrest of his chair until his knuckles went white. Heat flooded his body like wildfire, igniting low in his belly and spreading outward until his skin burned. His body responded in ways he'd forgotten were possible, and shock rippled through him like electricity. This couldn't be happening. For 4 years his body had been an unresponsive shell. No woman had stirred even the faintest reaction. He had consulted experts across 3 continents, tried experimental treatments, spent fortunes seeking solutions. Nothing worked. The doctors told him to accept his reality. He was broken beyond repair. But right now, watching this stranger move, he felt everything. His pulse thundered in his ears. His breathing quickened. Blood rushed through his veins like a dam breaking, and lower, much lower. His body awakened in ways he thought were lost forever. Hyung, are you paying attention? Young-ho, his closest associate, touched his shoulder. Min-jae jerked away. His jaw clenched so tight it ached. His eyes never left the woman on stage. Who is she? His voice emerged rough, almost hostile. Young-ho followed his gaze and shrugged. New performer started 3 weeks ago. Goes by Becky. Why? Min-jae didn't answer. He couldn't answer. His entire reality had just shifted beneath his feet, and he didn't understand how or why this woman, this complete stranger, had accomplished what years of medicine and desperation could not. She had made him feel alive again. The music ended and Becky disappeared through the back entrance. The audience erupted in applause, but Min-jae was already standing. He moved like a man possessed, crossing the space in long strides. His people scrambled to follow, confused by his sudden urgency. He never acted this way, never. Get her, he ordered Young-ho. Bring her to the private lounge immediately. Hyung, she just finished performing. Maybe give her time to now. The single word carried enough authority to send Young-ho moving instantly. Min-jae stalked to the exclusive lounge at the back of the building. His thoughts racing. What was happening to him? Was this real? Could he trust what his body was screaming? 4 years of numbness, and suddenly this woman appears and everything transforms. It made no logical sense, but his body didn't lie. He could still feel the heat coursing through him, the tightness, the hunger clawing beneath his skin. Terrified him. It exhilarated him. It made him furious. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Finally the door opened and she entered. Close, she was even more striking. She had changed into street clothes, jeans and a simple top that covered more than her stage outfit but somehow made her even more appealing. Her hair fell in thick curls past her shoulders. Her dark eyes were wide and cautious, like someone sensing danger but not yet certain they should flee. You wanted to see me. Her voice was soft with an accent he couldn't quite identify. Nigerian but not one he recognized. Min-jae stared at her, his chest rising and falling with each breath. He didn't know what to say. How could he explain something he didn't understand himself? But he needed answers. He needed to know if this was genuine or if his damaged mind was playing cruel tricks. He gestured to the leather sofa across from him. Becky hesitated, her fingers twisting the strap of her bag. Am I in trouble? 'Cause if I did something wrong I can sit, please. He softened his tone, though it required effort. 4 years of feeling nothing had made him forget how to be gentle. She perched on the edge of the sofa, her posture rigid and ready to bolt. Intelligent. She sensed the danger radiating from him. Most people did. He had built his reputation on fear and absolute control. But right now he felt anything but in control. Min-jae leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. His eyes locked on hers. What is your name? Your real name? Becky Adeyemi. But everyone just calls me Becky. Becky Adeyemi. He tested the name on his tongue, and even saying it sent a strange thrill through his system. Where are you from? Lagos, Nigeria. Came here 18 months ago. She tucked a curl behind her ear, clearly nervous. So I really don't understand why I'm here. Did someone complain about my performance? 'Cause I can improve. I need this position. Please don't terminate me. The desperation in her voice caught him off guard. She thought she was in trouble. She thought he was going to destroy her livelihood. If only she knew the truth. If only he could explain that she had just performed a miracle. I'm not terminating you. He paused, trying to find the right words. How could he possibly explain this? 4 years ago something happened to me. I was poisoned. I survived, but it destroyed something inside me. I couldn't feel anything. No emotions, no physical sensations, nothing. He watched her face, saw confusion mixed with sympathy. The medical expert said it was permanent, that I would spend the rest of my existence as an empty shell. Becky's lips parted slightly. That sounds terrible. It is. He stood abruptly, unable to remain still. He paced the room like a caged predator, his hands flexing at his sides. For 4 years I have been dead inside. I go through the motions of living, but I feel nothing. No happiness, no sadness, and definitely no. He stopped, turning to face her fully. No desire. My body stopped responding to everything. Every test, every treatment, every woman. Nothing worked. Understanding began to dawn in her eyes, followed quickly by fear. She started to rise. I should leave. The command in his voice froze her in place. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, stopping just inches from her, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something warm and sweet like cocoa butter and vanilla. Close enough that the heat from her body made his skin prickle with awareness. I need you to understand what you've done. I haven't done anything. Her voice trembled, but she held her ground. Brave. So incredibly brave. You've done everything. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched her cheek with his fingertips. The contact sent electricity shooting up his arm and straight to his chest. His breath caught. His body tightened with want. After 4 years of nothing, the sensation was almost painful in its intensity. I haven't felt desire in 4 years until tonight. What did you do to me? Becky's eyes went wide. She stumbled back, putting distance between them. I don't understand. I'm just a performer. I haven't done anything to you. Yet here I stand feeling things I thought were gone forever. He gestured at himself, at the evidence of his arousal that he couldn't hide even if he wanted to. You brought me back to life, Becky, and I need to know why. I need to know how. She shook her head, backing toward the door. You're scaring me. Think I should leave. 50 million won. His words stopped her cold. She turned slowly, suspicion warring with hope on her face. What? Have dinner with me tomorrow evening. Just dinner. Let me figure out what's happening to me. In exchange, I'll give you 50 million won. He saw her swallow hard, saw the way her hands trembled. He was offering her more money than she probably made in 6 months, maybe a year. One dinner, a few hours of your time. That's all I'm asking. Why would you pay that much just to have dinner with me? The suspicion won out. What do you really want? Min-jae moved closer again, drawn to her like gravity. I want to feel alive. For 4 years I've been walking through fog, existing but not living. You cleared that fog. I don't know how or why, but when I look at you, when I'm near you, everything comes rushing back. If there's even a chance that you can give me my life back, then 50 million won is nothing. Becky bit her lip, clearly torn. He could see the battle playing out behind her eyes. She needed the money desperately. But she also knew that men like him didn't offer that kind of money without expecting something in return. Just dinner. She asked carefully. Nothing else. Just dinner. You have my word. He pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. I'll transfer half now as proof of sincerity. The other half after dinner tomorrow, whether anything happens between us or not. You keep the money regardless. He could see the exact moment she decided. Her shoulders relaxed slightly and she gave a small nod. Just dinner, but somewhere public, a restaurant. Agreed. He smiled for the first time in 4 years. It felt strange on his face, like his muscles had forgotten how. Give me your number. I'll send you the details tomorrow. She recited her number and he typed it into his phone. 25 million won transferred with the press of a button. Her phone buzzed in her bag and she pulled it out. Her eyes went huge when she saw the notification. This is real, she whispered. Very real. He stepped closer one last time, unable to resist. He wanted to touch her again, to confirm that this feeling wasn't just his imagination. His hand cupped her face, his thumb brushing her soft cheek. Heat exploded through him. His body ached with need. Tomorrow evening, Becky. Don't make me wait longer than that. Then he forced himself to step back and let her go. She practically ran from the room, and he didn't blame her. He had probably terrified her. But as he watched her disappear through the door, one thing became crystal clear. That woman was either his salvation or his destruction. And he didn't care which. After 4 years of feeling nothing, he would take anything she could give him, even if it destroyed them both. Becky stood outside the gleaming tower in Gangnam. Her stomach twisted in knots. The address Min-jae had sent her that morning wasn't a restaurant. It was a residential building, one of the most expensive in Seoul. She had researched it online. Penthouses here cost billions of won. He had lied to her, or at least changed the plan without asking. Her finger hovered over her phone, ready to call a taxi and leave. 25 million won already sat in her bank account. She could keep it and disappear. He would never find her in a city this massive. But then she thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed back in Lagos. About her 2 younger sisters who needed school fees and proper housing. 25 million would help tremendously. 50 million would change everything. Besides, something about last night had felt genuine. Desperate, yes. Intense, absolutely, but genuine. The way he had looked at her, like she was the answer to a prayer he'd stopped praying. No one had ever looked at her like that before. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the glass doors. A man in a black suit waited in the lobby. He looked like security, all hard edges and no warmth. Miss Adeyemi. He didn't wait for her answer. Mr. Kong is expecting you. This way. He led her to a private elevator that required a keycard. The ride up seemed to take forever, her heart pounding harder with each passing floor. What was she doing? She barely knew this man. He could be anyone. He could want anything. But when the elevator doors opened directly into a penthouse apartment, her breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city stretched out below like a blanket of lights. The furniture was sleek and minimalist, all clean lines and obvious wealth. Art hung on the walls that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood back home. And there, standing by the windows with his back to her, was Min Jae. He turned when he heard the elevator, and the intensity of his gaze hit her like a physical force. He wore black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up showing strong forearms. His dark hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked every bit as dangerous as she suspected. Came. Relief colored his words. I wasn't sure you would. You said a restaurant. She crossed her arms, trying to look braver than she felt. This isn't a restaurant. No. I apologize for the deception. He moved toward her slowly, like he was afraid she might bolt. But I couldn't risk taking you somewhere public. My life is complicated, and being seen with me could put you in danger. This was safer. Safer for you, you mean? Becky stepped back, keeping distance between them. How do I know you won't hurt me? Don't. His honesty surprised her. But I give you my word that I won't touch you unless you want me to. You can leave at any time. The elevator will take you straight down, no questions asked. She studied his face, looking for lies. But all she saw was that same desperate hunger from last night. He needed something from her. But she didn't think it was what most men wanted. At least not only that. Fine. But I'm keeping my phone where I can reach it. And I have friends who know where I am. Lie. But he didn't need to know that. She had told her roommate about the address, but that was it. Mart. He gestured toward a dining table set for two near the windows. Candles flickered even though the city lights made them unnecessary. I had food prepared. I hope you're okay with Korean cuisine. Becky's stomach growled, betraying her nervousness. She had been too anxious to eat all day. Korean food is fine. They sat across from each other, and servers appeared from somewhere in the apartment to bring plates of bulgogi, kimchi, japchae, and banchan. The food smelled incredible, but she barely tasted it. She was too aware of Min Jae watching her every movement. You said you needed to understand what's happening to you, she said after several minutes of tense silence. So explain it to me, because I still don't understand how I did anything. Min Jae set down his chopsticks. His expression serious. 4 years ago I was at a business meeting in Busan. Someone put poison in my soju. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Collapse. My heart stopped twice on the way to the hospital. He touched his chest right over his heart. The doctors saved my life, but the poison damaged my nervous system. They said I was lucky to be alive at all. But you lost your feelings. Becky's voice softened despite her caution. She couldn't imagine living without emotions, without the ability to feel happiness or love or even pain. Everything. Emotions, physical sensations, desire. All of it just disappeared like someone flipped a switch. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. I tried everything. Different doctors, specialists from around the world, medications, therapy, nothing worked. They told me to accept it, that I would spend the rest of my life this way. That must have been awful. It was worse than death. His jaw clenched. At least in death there's peace. But this was like being trapped in a prison inside my own body. I could see life happening around me, but I couldn't participate. I was just an observer. Becky felt sympathy bloom in her chest. Whatever else he was, whatever dangerous things he did, he had suffered. She understood suffering. And then you saw me perform and everything changed. He stood abruptly, moving to the window. His reflection showed tension in every line of his body. When you stepped onto that stage, my heart started beating again. Really beating, not just pumping blood. I felt heat spread through my body. My skin became sensitive. And I wanted you. He turned to face her, and the raw honesty in his eyes made her shiver. I wanted you with an intensity that terrified me. After 4 years of nothing, suddenly I wanted everything. The air between them felt charged, electric. Becky gripped the edge of the table. But why me? What makes me different from any other woman? I don't know. Frustration leaked into his voice. I've been around hundreds of women in 4 years. Beautiful women. Nothing, not even a flicker. But you, Becky Adeyemi from Lagos, who performs to support her family. You made me feel alive again. How do you know about my family? Alarm bells rang in her head. I had you investigated. I'm sorry, but I needed to know who you were. He held up his hands at her outraged expression. I know how that sounds, but I'm not a safe man, Becky. I run an organization that deals in things the law frowns upon. I have enemies who would love to use anyone close to me as a weapon. I had to make sure you weren't sent by them. So you know everything about me. Anger replaced her sympathy. You know about my mother's illness, about my sisters, about why I came to Korea. And I know you send almost everyone you make back home. I know you live in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates and eat ramen most nights so you can afford your mother's treatments. His voice gentled. I also know you're one of the bravest people I've ever encountered. You left everything you knew, came to a foreign country, and did whatever it took to save your family. That takes incredible strength. Becky blinked back unexpected tears. No one had ever called her brave before. Desperate maybe, foolish definitely, but never brave. I did what I had to do. Exactly. Min-jae moved closer, circling the table until he stood beside her chair. And that's part of what draws me to you. You have this light inside you that nothing has managed to extinguish. Despite everything you've been through, you still have hope, still have goodness. I've been surrounded by darkness for so long I forgot what light looked like. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers brushed her hand where it rested on the table. The contact sent sparks racing up her arm. She gasped and his eyes darkened with satisfaction. You feel it too. It wasn't a question. The word came out breathless. She did feel it. This strange electricity that seemed to arc between them whenever they touched. But I don't understand it. Neither do I. But I don't care about understanding it anymore. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, and each touch made her skin burn hotter. All I care about is that when I touch you I feel human again. When I look at you I want things I thought I'd never want again. Becky's heart raced. She should pull away. She should leave right now. But his touch felt like fire and ice and everything in between. And she found herself craving more instead of less. What do you want from me? She whispered. Min-jae pulled her gently to her feet, his hands moving to her waist. Even through her clothes his touch burned. Everything. Nothing. I don't know yet. But I know I can't let you walk away without exploring this, whatever this is between us. He cupped her face with both hands, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones. His eyes searched hers, looking for permission. She knew she should say no, should run as fast as her legs could carry her. This man was dangerous. He admitted it himself. He lived in a world of violence and crime. But when he looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the universe, when his touch made her feel more alive than she'd ever felt, how could she walk away? Kiss me. The words left her mouth before she could stop them. Min-jae's control snapped. He pulled her against him, his mouth claiming hers with a hunger that stole her breath. This wasn't a gentle first kiss. This was 4 years of starvation finally finding sustenance. His lips moved against hers with desperate need, his tongue tracing the seam of her mouth until she opened for him. The taste of him exploded on her tongue, warmth and want and something indefinable. Heat flooded her body, pooling low in her belly. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. She had been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this intensity. This raw need that made her forget everything except the feel of his body against hers. His hands roamed her back, her sides, learning her curves through the thin fabric of her top. When his fingers found the hem, she didn't stop him. The top pooled at her feet, leaving her in just her bra and jeans. She should feel exposed, vulnerable. Instead she felt powerful. Because the look in his eyes was pure worship. You're perfect. His voice was rough with desire. So perfect it hurts to look at you. He backed her toward the sofa, never breaking the kiss. They fell onto the soft leather together, his weight pressing her into the cushions. His lips left hers to trail down her neck, finding sensitive spots that made her gasp. His hands explored every inch of exposed skin, and everywhere he touched felt like it was on fire. Becky tugged at his shirt, needing to feel his skin against hers. He helped her pull it over his head, and then there was nothing between them but heat and need. His chest was all hard muscle and smooth skin, marred only by a scar over his heart. She touched it gently. From the poison, he explained, his breath coming hard. She leaned up and kissed the scar, feeling his whole body shudder in response. Then his mouth was on hers again, kissing her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. His hands moved lower and she arched into his touch, lost in sensations she had never experienced before. Time lost meaning. There was only his touch, his taste, the sound of their breathing mixing together. When they finally broke apart, both of them were trembling. His forehead rested against hers, their breaths mingling in the small space between them. Stay with me tonight. His voice was raw with need. Please. I'm not ready to let you go yet. Becky knew she should say no, should put her clothes back on and leave. But her body still hummed with desire, and the thought of walking away from this feeling made her chest ache. Just tonight, she agreed, knowing it was a lie. Because as he lifted her into his arms and carried her toward his bedroom, she realized she was in serious trouble. This dangerous man with his dark world and wounded soul had somehow found a way past all her defenses. And she had no idea how she was going to protect her heart when this was over. Becky woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and silk sheets against her bare skin. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then memories of last night flooded back and heat rushed to her cheeks. She had stayed. She had done more than stay. The space beside her was empty but still warm. She sat up holding the sheet to her chest and heard sounds coming from another room. Following the noise, she found Min Jae in the kitchen, shirtless and making coffee. The morning light highlighted every muscle in his back, and she felt that familiar pull low in her belly. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and his eyes darkened as they traveled over her, wearing nothing but his shirt from last night. Good morning. Morning. She felt suddenly shy, which was ridiculous after everything they had done in the darkness. I should probably go. My shift at the club starts at 6. About that. He poured 2 cups of coffee and handed her one. I have a proposition for you. Something in his tone made her wary. What kind of proposition? To please. He gestured to the breakfast bar, and she perched on a stool, very aware that she wore nothing under his shirt. Last night was the first time in 4 years I felt truly alive. Not just physically but emotionally. When I'm with you, the fog lifts. Can feel joy, desire, even fear. Everything I thought was dead forever. I'm glad I could help. Becky sipped her coffee, unsure where this was going. But I really do need to get to work. What if you didn't? He leaned against the counter across from her, his expression intense. What if I made you an offer that would solve all your problems? Her stomach clenched. I'm listening. Stay with me for 1 season. 3 months. Live here in this penthouse. Be with me whenever I need to feel alive again. He held up a hand when she started to protest. In exchange, I'll pay off every single one of your family's debts. Your mother's medical bills, your sister's school fees, everything. I'll set them up in a proper home with money in the bank. They'll never have to worry about money again. The coffee cup trembled in Becky's hands. How much are we talking about? 300 million won. She nearly dropped the cup. That was more money than she could earn in 5 years of performing. That was life-changing, family-saving money. That was her mother getting the surgery she needed. Her sisters going to university. A real home instead of a cramped flat with leaking pipes. Why would you pay that much? Suspicion crept into her voice. What exactly would I have to do for this money? Min Jae moved around the counter until he stood in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his skin. "You're mine. Only mine. Live here so I can come home to you every night. Let me touch you, kiss you, make love to you whenever this emptiness starts creeping back in." His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her lower lip. "You're my cure, Becky. The only thing that makes me feel human. Need you." Her heart pounded. "You're asking me to be your mistress, to sell myself to you. I'm asking you to save me." His eyes held hers, raw and honest. "But I understand how it sounds. I'm essentially buying your time, your body, your presence. If that offends you, tell me to go to hell and walk out that door. I'll still transfer the other 25 million I owe you." Becky's mind raced. Everything in her screamed that this was wrong. You couldn't put a price on a person. Her mother would be horrified. But then she thought about her mother's tired face on their last video call. About how her sister had dropped out of school because they couldn't afford fees. About her youngest sister sharing one pair of shoes with a neighbor. 3 months, she said it slowly, testing the words. "And then what? You get bored of me and move on to the next woman who makes you feel something. I don't know what happens after 3 months." His honesty surprised her. "Maybe the effect wears off. Maybe you get tired of me and my dark world. But I'm willing to take that risk if you are. I want conditions." The words came out stronger than she felt. "If I'm going to do this, we do it my way." Interest flickered in his eyes. "Name them. First, you treat me with respect. I'm not your property. I'm a person making a choice." She set down her coffee cup and stood, needing to feel less vulnerable. "Second, I want half the money up front, sent directly to my family. The other half when the 3 months end, whether you're happy with me or not." Agreed. "Third, I can leave any time if I feel unsafe or if you break our agreement. And you let me go without any trouble." Agreed. He stepped closer, his hands finding her waist. "Anything else?" She lifted her chin, meeting his gaze. "You tell me the truth about who you are, what you do, the danger I might be in. No more secrets." Min-jae studied her face for a long moment. "I run a criminal organization. We deal in things that would make you uncomfortable. Import, export, protection, information. I have enemies who would kill me if they had the chance. Being with me puts a target on your back." His grip on her waist tightened. "I can protect you, but I can't promise you'll never be in danger." Is that truth enough? Fear trickled down her spine. But she pushed it away. "Then we have a deal." He pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean to whoever answered. When he hung up, he looked at her with something like admiration. 150 million won will be in your family's account within the hour. My lawyers will set up the rest in a trust that releases when our 3 months end. Becky's knees went weak. It was real. She had just agreed to sell herself for 3 months. And she couldn't even feel guilty about it because all she could think about was her mother finally getting treatment. "I need to get my things from my apartment. I'll send people to pack and move everything here." His hand slid under the shirt she wore, finding bare skin. "Right now I need you again. We just woke up." But even as she protested, her body responded to his touch. Heat pooling between her thighs. "I told you, when I'm with you I feel everything. And right now I feel greedy." He lifted her onto the counter, stepping between her legs. "Tell me to stop if you want me to stop." She should stop him. Should keep some distance. Remember that this was a business arrangement. But when his mouth found the sensitive spot on her neck, when his hands pushed the shirt up and off, when he looked at her like she was water in a desert, all her good intentions melted away. "Don't stop." The words came out breathless. He made love to her right there in the kitchen, the morning sun warming their skin. It was different from last night's desperate hunger. This was slower, deeper, as if he was memorizing every inch of her body. His hands worshipped her curves. His mouth left marks on her throat and chest that would bloom into bruises tomorrow. And when he finally pushed inside her, she cried out at how perfectly they fit together. "Look at me." His command made her eyes fly open. "I want to see your face when you come apart." She couldn't look away if she tried. His eyes held hers as he moved, each thrust sending pleasure spiraling through her body. His fingers found the sensitive bundle of nerves between her legs, circling until she thought she might scream. The pressure built and built, coiling tighter in her belly. Minjae. His name fell from her lips like a prayer. Let go, Becky. Me see you. His words pushed her over the edge. Pleasure exploded through her so intense she saw stars. Her body clenched around him, and she heard him groan as he followed her into bliss. They stayed frozen like that for long moments, both breathing hard, both trembling. When he finally pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. I could get addicted to this. To you. That's what you're paying for. She meant it to sound light, but it came out sad instead. Well, he tilted her chin up. I'm paying for your time. This what happens between us can't be bought. This is real. She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe that this was more than a transaction. But she had agreed to be bought, and no amount of pleasure or pretty words could change that. I should shower and get dressed. She slipped off the counter, suddenly needing space. If I'm moving in, I need to call my roommates and let them know. He let her go, but she felt his eyes on her as she walked toward the bathroom. In the shower, she let the hot water wash away the evidence of their morning together. But it couldn't wash away the feeling of his hands on her skin or the memory of how he had looked at her like she was his salvation. She had made a deal with the devil. 3 months of her life in exchange for her family's future. Should feel wrong. Should feel dirty. So why did it feel like the most right thing she had ever done? By that evening, all her belongings sat in boxes in Minjae's bedroom. He had people unpack while she watched, feeling strange about letting strangers handle her cheap clothes and worn books. But he insisted, saying she should rest after such a big decision. When night fell and they were finally alone, he led her to his bedroom. Really looked at it this time. The massive bed with its dark sheets, the sitting area by the windows, the bathroom that was bigger than her old apartment. This is surreal. She touched the silk curtains. Yesterday I was a performer living in a cramped apartment. Today I'm living in a penthouse with a man I barely know. Then let me help you know me. Minjae came up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. Ask me anything. The scar on your chest. She turned in his arms to face him. Tell me about that night. The night you were poisoned. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. I was meeting with a supplier, someone I'd worked with for years. I trusted him. He pulled away, unbuttoning his shirt. That trust nearly killed me. As the shirt fell away, she saw more scars. Some were thin and silver with age. Others were newer, still slightly pink. Each one told a story of violence and survival. He put the poison in my soju while I was distracted. By the time I tasted the bitterness, it was too late. His fingers traced the scar over his heart. They said my heart stopped for 3 minutes in the ambulance. When they revived me, I thought the worst was over. But then I realized I couldn't feel anything anymore. The poison had destroyed something in my brain. Becky reached out and touched each scar gently. I'm sorry that happened to you. Don't be sorry for me. He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. If it hadn't happened, I would never have needed you, never have found you. Maybe everything happens for a reason. That's a beautiful thought. She stepped closer, resting her head against his chest. But you paid a terrible price. And now you're paying one too. His arms tightened around her. Living with a dangerous man, giving up your freedom for money. I made my choice. She looked up at him. No one forced me. But I'm the one who made the offer. I'm the one who put you in this position. Guilt shadowed his features. If you want to back out, I'll still help your family. You don't have to do this. The offer surprised her. He could have kept quiet, could have taken what he bought. But instead he was giving her an out. That told her more about his character than anything else could. I'm staying. She pulled his head down and kissed him softly. For better or worse, I'm staying. He responded by sweeping her up into his arms and carrying her to the bed. They made love again, but this time felt different, more tender, more real. He took his time exploring her body, learning what made her gasp and moan. And when she touched his scars with gentle fingers, he shuddered like she was healing him with her hands. Afterward they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat, strong and steady, alive. Thank you. His voice rumbled under her ear. For what? For giving me 3 more months of feeling human. Whatever happens after that, at least I'll have this. Becky closed her eyes, trying not to think about the end, about what would happen when 90 days passed and she had to walk away from this man who made her feel things she had never felt before. She had thought she was selling her body for money. But lying here in his arms, feeling his fingers trace lazy patterns on her skin, she realized the truth. She wasn't worried about selling her body. She was worried about giving away her heart. The next morning Becky woke to find Min-jae already dressed in a sharp charcoal suit. He looked every inch the powerful man he was, and the sight made her stomach flutter. Have meetings today. He leaned down to kiss her, his lips lingering. Young-ho will be here soon to go over security protocols with you. Don't leave the building without one of my men. I mean it, Becky. Am I a prisoner then? She sat up, clutching the sheet. You're protected. There's a difference. His eyes softened. I'll be back by dinner. There's food in the kitchen and anything you want can be delivered. My card is on the counter. Use it. After he left, she explored the penthouse properly. The kitchen had more food than she could eat in a month. The closet in the bedroom now held not just her old clothes but new ones with designer tags still attached. Dresses, jeans, shoes, everything in her size. He had gone shopping for her without asking. She should feel grateful. Instead she felt bought. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. When she opened it, a Korean man in his 40s stood there. His expression unreadable. Miss Adiemi, I'm Park Young-ho, Mr. Kang's second in command. He bowed slightly. May I come in? She stepped aside and he entered with the confidence of someone who had been here many times before. He pulled out a tablet and began explaining security measures. Panic buttons, approved drivers, a list of rules that made her head spin. This seems excessive. She interrupted his explanation of the building's security cameras. Am I really in that much danger? Young-ho looked at her with something like pity. Miss Becky, do you understand who Min-jae is? What he does? He runs a criminal organization. He runs the most powerful Korean syndicate on the west coast of the Pacific. He controls ports, smuggling routes, has connections to organizations across East Asia. Young-ho set down his tablet. He has enemies who would love nothing more than to hurt him through someone he cares about. And make no mistake, he cares about you. He barely knows me. Yet he's paying you 300 million won to stay with him. Young-ho's eyes narrowed. Many women have tried to get close to him over the years. Beautiful women, connected women, dangerous women. He never looked at any of them twice. But you, a performer from Lagos with no connections and no agenda, you made him feel again. That makes you either very special or very dangerous. I'm not dangerous. Indignation flared in her chest. I'm just trying to help my family. Then let me give you some advice. Young-ho leaned forward. Don't fall in love with him. Don't think this will last beyond your 3 months. Min-jae lives in darkness. And people who get too close to him get burned. Take your money, help your family, and walk away clean. Anything else will only end in heartbreak. His words stung because they echoed her own fears. Thank you for the advice. I hope you listen to it. He stood and headed for the door. The boss wants you to accompany him to Tokyo tomorrow. Private jet leaves at noon. Pack something nice. After Young-ho left, Becky sat in the huge living room feeling smaller than ever. What had she gotten herself into? This wasn't just about spending time with a man who needed her. This was about entering a world of violence and crime where people got hurt and lives got destroyed. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister showed a picture of their mother smiling in a new hospital bed. The doctors say they can do the surgery next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Becky's eyes filled with tears. This was why. Whatever happened to her, whatever price she paid, her family would be safe and healthy. That had to be enough. When Min-jae came home that evening, he found her cooking in the kitchen. She had found ingredients and made jollof rice, needing something familiar to ground her. Smells incredible. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, nuzzling her neck. What is it? Jollof rice. She stirred the pot, trying to ignore how good he felt pressed against her back. I thought you might want to try food from my country. I want to try everything about your country, starting with you. His hands slid under her shirt, finding bare skin. The food will burn. But she tilted her head, giving him better access to her neck. Let it burn. He turned her around and lifted her onto the counter, just like yesterday morning. His kiss was hungry, possessive, as if being away from her all day had starved him. I couldn't stop thinking about you. In every meeting, every conversation, all I wanted was to come home to this. To you. She should tell him to wait, to let her finish cooking. But his hands were already stripping away her clothes, his mouth trailing fire down her throat. When he pushed inside her, she forgot about everything except the pleasure building in her core. They barely made it to dinner. The food was slightly burned, but neither of them cared. They ate in comfortable silence, stealing glances and touches across the table. Young-ho came by today. She finally broke the silence. He told me about Tokyo. Yes, I have a meeting there tomorrow and I want you with me. He reached across to take her hand. I know it's not the safest thing, bringing you into my world like this. But I don't want to be apart from you. He also warned me not to fall in love with you. She watched his face carefully. He said you live in darkness and people close to you get burned. Min-jae's expression hardened. Young-ho is protective. He's been with me since the beginning. But he's not wrong. My life is dangerous, Becky. If you want to stay here where it's safe, I understand. Well, the word came out before she could think. I'll go with you. We have a deal, remember? 3 months. I want to see all of who you are, not just the parts you show me in this penthouse. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, respect, perhaps something deeper. Then pack something beautiful. I want everyone to see that you're mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have bothered her. Instead it sent heat pooling low in her belly. She was in so much trouble. That night in bed, after he had made love to her so thoroughly she could barely move, she traced the scars on his chest in the darkness. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. The life you chose. Every day. His honesty surprised her. But I was born into this world. My father ran the organization before me. I tried to leave once, tried to have a normal life. But they pulled me back in. And after the poisoning, after I lost the ability to feel, I stopped caring about right and wrong. I just existed. And now I have something to lose again. His arms tightened around her. You made me care, Becky. About feeling, about tomorrow. I don't know if that's a gift or a curse. Maybe it's both. She kissed his chest right over his heart. But at least you're alive again. The flight to Tokyo the next day was surreal. Becky had never been on a private jet before. Leather seats, a full bar, a bedroom in the back. Min-jae worked on his laptop while she stared out the window watching clouds pass below. Nervous. He closed his laptop and came to sit beside her. Should I be? Probably. His thumb brushed her cheek. But I'll be with you the entire time. No one will touch you. Promise. The meeting took place in a private room at a luxury hotel in Roppongi. Men in expensive suits filled the space, speaking in Japanese and Korean. Becky stayed close to Min-jae's side, feeling out of place in her new designer dress. Everything seemed fine until one of the other men made a comment in Japanese. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone, mocking, dismissive. Several men laughed. Min-jae's hand shot out, grabbing the man's throat. In seconds the room erupted into chaos. Guns appeared from nowhere. Shouting filled the air. Min-jae pushed Becky behind him, shielding her with his body. Say one more word about her. His voice was deadly calm despite the violence crackling in the air. Dare you? The man choked out an apology. Slowly tension drained from the room. Guns disappeared. People sat back down. But the meeting was over. In the car back to the airport, Becky's hands shook. What did he say about me? Nothing that matters. Min-jae's jaw was still clenched. He disrespected you. No one disrespects what's mine. I'm not a possession. Anger cut through her fear. You can't just threaten to kill people because they said something mean. In my world, disrespect leads to weakness. Weakness leads to death. He turned to face her. I need people to know that touching you means death. It's the only way to keep you safe. She wanted to argue, to tell him that violence wasn't the answer. But she had seen the guns, seen how quickly things could turn deadly. This was his world. Dark, dangerous, brutal. Back in Seoul, safe in the penthouse, he pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry you saw that." "I'm not." She surprised herself with the truth. "I needed to see who you really are. What your life is really like. And are you running yet?" He held his breath, waiting for her answer. Becky thought about it. About the violence, the danger, the darkness that surrounded him. But she also thought about how he had protected her without hesitation, how he had defended her honor, how he looked at her like she was his entire world. "Well." She pulled his head down for a kiss. "I'm not running." Relief flooded his features before his mouth claimed hers in a kiss that was equal parts gratitude and hunger. He made love to her right there against the door, unable to wait until they reached the bedroom. And she matched his intensity, her nails digging into his shoulders, her legs wrapping around his waist. Later, lying in bed with the city lights twinkling outside, she realized the truth Jung-ho had tried to warn her about. She was falling in love with Kong Min-jae. And in 2 more months she would have to walk away and pretend her heart wasn't breaking. Becky walked through Apgujeong with 2 of Min-jae's guards trailing 10 feet behind her. The autumn sun was warm on her shoulders and shopping bags filled with clothes she never dreamed of owning hung from her arms. 6 weeks had passed since she moved into the penthouse. 6 weeks of learning to live in his world. 6 weeks of falling deeper into something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. She stopped in front of a jewelry store, admiring a necklace in the window. It was delicate and beautiful, nothing like the heavy pieces Min-jae kept trying to buy her. She preferred simple things. Things that reminded her she was still the same girl from Lagos, even if her life had transformed into something unrecognizable. "Miss Adeyemi, we should head back soon." One of the guards, a man named Tae-sung, stepped closer. "The boss doesn't like you being out too long. 5 more minutes. She smiled at him. "Promise." She turned to look at another store window, and that's when everything went wrong. A van screeched to a stop beside her. Doors flew open. Hands grabbed her from behind, yanking her backward. She tried to scream, but something pressed over her mouth. Chemical smell, sweet and sickening. Her vision blurred. Through the haze she saw Tae-sung reach for his gun, heard gunshots, saw him fall. Then darkness swallowed her whole. When consciousness returned, pain throbbed in her head. Her wrists were tied behind her back, the rope cutting into her skin. She was in a chair in what looked like an old warehouse. Dim light filtered through dirty windows high above. The smell of oil and rust filled her nose. 3 men stood around her, speaking in rapid Mandarin. She didn't understand the words, but their tone was clear. They were pleased with themselves. "Is awake." One of them switched to accented English. Time to send message to Korean dog." Terror shot through her. This was about Min-jae. These were his enemies and she was their weapon against him. One of the men pulled out a phone and aimed it at her. "Smile for your boyfriend. He will kill you." The words came out defiant, fierce. "All of you. He will tear this city apart to find me." The man laughed. "Let him try. By the time he figures out where you are, you'll already be dead. But first we make him suffer." He grabbed her face roughly, forcing her to look at the camera. "Tell him goodbye, little bird. Tell him his weakness will be his death." Before she could speak, he backhanded her across the face. Pain exploded in her cheek. Blood filled her mouth. The camera kept recording, capturing her pain, her fear. They wanted Min-jae to see her suffer. "Enough." Another man spoke. "Send it. Let him know what happens when he refuses to share territory." The hours that followed were the longest of her life. They left her tied to the chair, alone in the vast warehouse. Her face throbbed. Her wrists bled from struggling against the ropes. But worse than the physical pain was the fear. What if Min-jae couldn't find her in time? What if they killed her before he arrived? What if this was how she died, in a dirty warehouse far from home? All because she had been foolish enough to fall for a dangerous man. She thought about her family. About her mother's smile in the last video call. Healthy and happy thanks to the surgery. About her sisters going to good schools now, their futures bright. At least she had given them that. At least her choice had meant something. But God, she didn't want to die. Not now. Not when she had just discovered what it felt like to be truly alive. The warehouse door exploded inward with a crash that made her scream. Gunfire erupted, so loud it hurt her ears. Men shouted. More shots. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Then silence. Footsteps ran toward her. She flinched, expecting violence. Instead, Min-jae dropped to his knees in front of her. His face a mask of fury and fear. Becky. His hands shook as he cut through the ropes binding her wrists. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? My face. She could barely speak through her split lip. They hit me. Something terrifying crossed his features. He stood and turned to where Jung-ho held one of her kidnappers at gunpoint. The man was bleeding from his shoulder, begging in Mandarin. Wait outside. Min-jae's voice was ice. All of you, take Becky to the car. Boss, you shouldn't. Jung-ho started. I said take her to the car. Jung-ho helped Becky to her feet. Her legs barely held her weight as he led her toward the exit. She looked back. Min-jae stood over the wounded man, his gun in his hand, his entire body radiating violence. Please. The kidnapper switched to broken English. Please, mercy. You touched what's mine. Min-jae's voice was empty of all emotion. There is no mercy for that. The gunshot echoed as Jung-ho pushed Becky out the door. She stumbled, the sound ringing in her ears. She had known Min-jae was dangerous, had seen glimpses of his violence. But hearing him execute a man in cold blood was different. That was the reality of his world. Kill or be killed. In the car she shook uncontrollably. Jung-ho wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and handed her water. Drink. You're in shock. He killed him. Her voice sounded far away. Just killed him without hesitation. That man kidnapped you, beat you, would have killed you. Jung-ho's expression was grim. In our world that deserves death. The boss was merciful. He could have made him suffer much longer. Becky couldn't process that. Couldn't understand a world where a quick execution was considered mercy. But her body knew what her mind refused to accept. She was alive because Min-jae had been ruthless. If he had hesitated, shown mercy, negotiated, she might be dead right now. Min-jae emerged from the warehouse minutes later. Blood splattered on his white shirt. He climbed into the back seat beside her and immediately pulled her into his arms. His whole body trembled. Thought I lost you. His voice cracked. When I saw that video, saw them hurt you, I lost my mind. I tore through every contact, every informant, every enemy until someone talked. I would have burned this entire city down to find you. You found me. She clung to him, needing his solid warmth to chase away the cold fear. I'm here. I'm safe. Because of me you were taken. Because of me you were hurt. He pulled back to examine her face, his thumb gently touching the bruise blooming on her cheek. Rage flickered in his eyes. I should have killed them slower. Should have made them suffer the way they made you suffer. She caught his hand. Just take me home, please. I just want to go home. The penthouse had never felt more welcoming. Min-jae led her straight to the bathroom and started filling the huge tub with hot water. He added oils that smelled like lavender and jasmine. Then he helped her undress. His touch gentle despite the violence still humming through him. Let me take care of you. He lifted her into the tub and climbed in behind her, still wearing his bloody clothes. He didn't seem to notice or care. His only focus was on washing the dirt and fear from her skin. Becky leaned back against his chest, letting his hands soothe her. He washed her hair carefully, avoiding the tender spot on her scalp where they had grabbed her. He cleaned the cuts on her wrists with gentle fingers. And when she finally started crying, he simply held her, letting her tears mix with the bathwater. I was so scared. The admission broke free. I thought I'd never see you again. Never see my family. I thought I'd die in that place. Never. His arms tightened around her. I would move heaven and earth to get to you. There's nowhere in this world you could be that I wouldn't find you. Why? She turned in his arms to face him. Why do you care so much? This was supposed to be a business arrangement. 3 months of my time for money. That was the deal. Min-jae cupped her face in both hands, his eyes burning with intensity. The deal changed the moment you walked into my life. I was dead inside Becky, a walking corpse going through the motions of living. But you brought me back. You made me feel joy and fear and hope and desire. You made me want to wake up in the morning. And somewhere along the way I fell in love with you. Her breath caught. What? Love you. He said it again, stronger this time. I know I have no right. I know this was supposed to be temporary. But I fell in love with you and I can't take it back. I won't take it back. Tears streamed down her face. I love you too. God help me, I love you too. He kissed her then, soft and reverent, tasting her tears on his lips. Say it again. Love you. She kissed him back. I love you, Kong Min-jae. Something in him broke open. He lifted her from the tub, water streaming from their bodies, and carried her to the bed. This time when he made love to her, everything was different. There was no desperate hunger, no frantic need, just slow, deep reverence. He worshipped every inch of her skin with his mouth, kissed every bruise and cut like he could heal them with his touch. When he finally pushed inside her, she gasped at how deeply she felt it. Not just physically but emotionally, like their souls were connecting along with their bodies. You're everything. He moved slowly, making her feel every inch of him. My salvation, my redemption, my reason for living. She wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him deeper. Show me. Show me how much you love me. He made love to her for hours, bringing her to peak after peak until she was trembling and spent. And when they finally lay tangled together in the darkness, both exhausted and complete, she knew the truth. This wasn't a business arrangement anymore. This wasn't about money or deals or temporary fixes. This was real, raw, permanent. She had given him her body for money. But somewhere along the way she had given him her heart for free. The 3 months are almost over. She whispered the words into the darkness. What happens then? Min-jae's arms tightened around her. Then we tear up the contract and write a new one. One that doesn't have an end date. You want me to stay? Hope bloomed in her chest. I want you to stay forever. He kissed her forehead. Marry me, Becky. Not because of a deal or money, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it. She should say no. Should tell him it was too fast, too dangerous, too complicated. But after today, after nearly losing everything, she knew the truth. Life was too short to waste on fear. She kissed him deeply. Yes, I'll marry you. They sealed the promise with their bodies, coming together one more time in the darkness. And as she fell asleep in his arms, Becky knew she had made the right choice. Whatever dangers lay ahead, whatever challenges they faced, they would face them together. She had walked into his darkness and brought him light. Now they would create their own path forward, built on love instead of deals, on choice instead of obligation. The 3 months were almost over, but their forever was just beginning. 2 days after the kidnapping, Becky woke to find Min-jae already dressed and on his phone, speaking rapid Korean. When he saw her awake, he ended the call and came to sit on the edge of the bed. How's your face? He touched the bruise gently. It had turned purple and yellow, making her look like she'd been in a fight, which she supposed she had. But I'll live. She caught his hand. What were you planning on the phone? You have that look. What look? The look you get when you're about to do something big and possibly crazy. She sat up, pulling the sheet around her. Tell me. Min-jae took a deep breath. I want to meet your family. Your real family, not just video calls. I want them to come here so I can look your mother in the eye and ask her permission to marry you properly. Shock rippled through her. You want to fly my family from Lagos to Seoul? Already did. They land tomorrow. He watched her face carefully. I should have asked first, but I wanted to surprise you. Are you angry? Angry. I'm terrified. She pressed her hands to her cheeks. My mother is going to take one look at this bruise and demand answers. She'll never approve of you once she knows the truth. Then I'll tell her the truth and accept whatever judgment she makes. His expression was serious. I won't lie to the woman who raised you. She deserves honesty. The next day they drove to Incheon Airport in tense silence. When they reached the arrivals area, Becky's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. Then she saw them. Her mother, tall and elegant despite the long flight. Her two younger sisters, Blessing and Grace, both looking around with wide eyes. They spotted her at the same time and screamed her name. Becky ran to them, tears streaming down her face. They crashed together in a tangle of hugs and tears and laughter. "You look so different," Grace touched her new clothes. "Like a movie star. Is that your boyfriend?" Blessing eyed Min-jae suspiciously. "He looks scary. Mama wants to talk to you." Grace grabbed her hand. "She's been quiet the whole flight." Becky's mother stood apart from the reunion, her arms crossed. Adebola Adeyemi was a small woman with silver threading through her black hair, but she had the presence of someone much larger. Her sharp eyes took in everything at once. The expensive car, Min-jae's dangerous elegance, and most importantly, the bruise on her daughter's face. Inside the car. Her mother's voice left no room for argument. "You too, Mr. Kong. We need to talk." They drove to Min-jae's house in Pyeongchang-dong, a traditional hanok that he'd had renovated. Her sisters scattered to explore while Becky and Min-jae followed her mother into a sitting room. Adebola sat in a chair like it was a throne, her back straight, her expression unreadable. "Explain." She pointed at Becky's face. "Explain how my daughter who left home healthy and whole now has a face that looks like someone beat her." "Mama, it's not what you think." Becky started. "I'm not talking to you yet. I'm talking to him." Adebola's gaze pinned Min-jae. "You're the man who's been sending money. The man who paid for my surgery. The man my daughter is living with. So you tell me how she got hurt." Min-jae didn't flinch under her stare. "She was kidnapped by my enemies. Because they knew hurting her would hurt me. They beat her and planned to kill her. I got there in time to save her but not in time to prevent that bruise." Silence filled the room. Adebola's expression didn't change but something flickered in her eyes. "Your enemies. Because you're a criminal." "I run a criminal organization. I deal in illegal activities. I have enemies who would use anyone close to me as a weapon." He leaned forward, his voice steady. "I won't lie to you about who I am or what I do. Your daughter deserves better than lies and so do you. And yet you let her into this life." Adebola's voice rose. "You put my baby in danger." Becky tried again. Her mother held up a hand. "Let him answer." "I did." Min-jae's honesty was brutal. "I offered her money to stay with me because I needed her. I was selfish and desperate. But I promise you this, Mrs. Adeyemi. I will protect her with my life. I will give her everything she could ever want. And I will love her until my last breath." "Love." Adebola said the word like it tasted bitter. "You think love is enough to keep her safe in your world?" But love combined with power, resources, and absolute ruthlessness toward anyone who threatens her might be. He met her gaze without wavering. "I can't promise she'll never be in danger. But I can promise that anyone who tries to hurt her will die screaming." Becky expected her mother to be horrified. Instead, Adebola studied Min-jae with new interest. "You killed the men who took her." The word surprised everyone. Adebola stood and walked to the window overlooking the garden. "When Becky's father died, I learned something about the world. Good men die young while bad men live forever. The world isn't fair. It isn't kind. Sometimes you need a dangerous man to survive in a dangerous world." She turned to look at her daughter. "Do you love him, Becky? Truly love him? Not just the money or security he provides?" "Yes, Mama." Becky's voice was firm. "I love him more than I thought I could love anyone." "And you?" Adebola looked at Min-jae. "Do you love my daughter or is she just convenient?" "She's the most inconvenient thing that ever happened to me." A small smile touched his lips. "She made me feel again after 4 years of numbness. She brought light into my darkness. She's everything I don't deserve and everything I can't live without. I love her completely." Adebola was quiet for a long moment. Then she walked to Min-jae and held out her hand. "You hurt her and I'll find a way to hurt you back. Money and power won't protect you from a mother's vengeance. Understand?" "Understood." He shook her hand and Becky saw respect in both their faces. "Now show me this house my daughter will be living in." Adebola's stern expression cracked into a small smile. And tell me you have food. That airplane food was terrible. Dinner that night was chaos. Her sisters ran around exploring. Adebola asked 1,000 questions. And Minjae tried his best to be welcoming despite clearly having no idea how to interact with children. Watching him attempt to explain his business in terms an 11-year-old could understand made Becky fall even more in love with him. After dinner, while her family explored the garden, Minjae pulled Becky aside. There's someone else I want you to meet. Someone important to me. They drove to a small apartment in Songbuk-dong, modest compared to his other properties. An elderly Korean man answered the door. His face weathered but kind. Seon Seongnam. Minjae bowed deeply, showing more deference than Becky had ever seen from him. Thank you for seeing us. Come in, come in. The old man ushered them inside. His home was simple but comfortable, filled with books and calligraphy. He served tea while studying Becky with bright, curious eyes. So this is the woman who performed a miracle. I don't know about miracles. Becky accepted the teacup. I'm just a performer from Lagos. Don't be modest. The old man smiled. I've known Minjae since he was a boy running from his father's enemies. I helped him build his organization, taught him how to survive in this brutal world. And I watched him die inside 4 years ago when the poison stole his ability to feel. He reached over and patted her hand. You brought him back to life. That's a miracle in my book. She did more than that. Minjae set down his cup. She made me want to live again. Made me believe I could have something beyond power and control. She gave me hope. The old man nodded slowly. Hope is dangerous for men like us. Makes you vulnerable. But it also makes you human. He looked at Becky. You have a difficult road ahead. Loving a man like Minjae means living in shadows, always looking over your shoulder. Are you strong enough for that? I don't know. Her honesty surprised her. But I know I'm strong enough to try. Good answer. The old man stood and went to a shelf, pulling down a small wooden box. Inside was a delicate jade hairpin. This belonged to my wife. She died many years ago, but she would have wanted you to have it. She always said jade brings protection and good fortune. You'll need both. Tears filled Becky's eyes as he placed the hairpin in her hands. Thank you. I'll treasure it. On the drive back to Pyeongchangdong, Minjae was quiet. Finally he said, Seon Seongnam never speaks about his wife. He loved her deeply, and when she died, part of him died too. For him to give you her hairpin means he approves. He sees in us what he had with her. What's that? True love. He pulled the car over suddenly, turning to face her. Becky, our 3 months are over tomorrow. The contract ends. But I don't want it to end. I want forever with you. I want that too. She touched his face. But I'm scared. Your world almost killed me once. What if next time you don't get there in time? Then I'll die trying. His intensity stole her breath. I know I'm asking you to give up a normal life. To always be in danger. To live in the shadows. But I swear to you I'll spend every day making sure you never regret choosing me. Becky thought about her mother's words. Sometimes you need a dangerous man to survive in a dangerous world. She thought about the old teacher's wife who had loved a man in the shadows and found happiness anyway. She thought about her own heart, which had already made its choice. Then forever starts now. She kissed him deeply. No more contracts, no more deals. Just us choosing each other every day. They made love in the car, unable to wait until they got back to the house. It was passionate and desperate and perfect. And when they finally returned to Pyeongchangdong hand in hand, her family knew without asking that something had changed. You're staying with him. Her mother said it as fact, not question. Yes, Mama. I'm staying. Adebola pulled her daughter into a tight hug. Then be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. Just be happy and stay alive. That night, lying in bed with Minjae's arms around her, and her family sleeping safely down the hall, Becky realized something profound. She had come to Korea to save her family. But in the process she had found her own salvation. She had found love in the darkest place. And now, with the 3 months over and forever beginning, she finally understood the truth. Love wasn't about safety or security. It was about finding someone worth risking everything for. And Min-jae was worth every risk. The penthouse felt like a tomb without her. Min-jae stood by the windows staring out at the city lights that suddenly meant nothing. 5 days. It had been 5 days since Becky packed her things and moved back to her tiny apartment. 5 days since she said she needed time to think. 5 days of slowly dying inside all over again. The numbness was creeping back. Not as complete as before, but enough that he noticed. Food tasted bland. Colors seemed duller. Even anger felt distant and muted. She had warned him this might happen. That maybe the effect was temporary. That maybe his body would adjust and stop responding to her presence. But he knew the truth. It wasn't that his body was adjusting. It was that his soul was breaking. His phone rang. Young-ho's name flashed on the screen. What is it? His voice came out flat, emotionless. The Yakuza are making moves again. They think you're weak now that the girl is gone. We need to respond before they see an opening. Handle it. He ended the call without waiting for a response. He couldn't care about territory disputes or power plays. Not when the only thing that mattered was missing from his life. A knock at the door interrupted his spiral into darkness. He ignored it. Whoever it was could come back later or never. He didn't care anymore. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Then he heard the keypad beep. Someone was using the code he had given to only one person. His heart, which had been barely beating, suddenly slammed against his ribs. The door opened and Becky stepped inside. She looked exhausted. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore jeans and a sweater, nothing fancy. Dark circles shadowed her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. But to him she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "You came back." The words scraped out of his throat. "I tried to stay away." She closed the door behind her, leaning against it like she needed the support. "For 5 days I tried to convince myself I could go back to my old life. That I could forget you and be safe and normal again. And..." He didn't dare move, afraid if he did she might disappear like smoke. "And I was miserable." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Every morning I woke up reaching for you. Every night I lay in that tiny bed remembering how it felt to sleep in your arms. I tried to go back to the club, but the music made me think of the first night you saw me. I tried to plan for my future, but all I could think about was building one with you." Min-jae crossed the room in 3 long strides, pulling her against him. She fit perfectly, like she was made to be there. "Thought I lost you. Thought you decided the danger was too much. It is too much." She looked up at him, her brown eyes swimming with emotion. "Your world is violent and dangerous. I'll never have a normal life. I'll always be looking over my shoulder. Our children, if we have them, will grow up with bodyguards and threats." She grabbed his shirt, fisting the fabric. "But none of that matters because I can't breathe without you. I can't live without you. Choose you, Min-jae. Choose us. I choose this life, danger and all." Something broke open inside his chest. Relief, joy, love, all of it flooding through him so intensely it hurt. "Say it again. Choose you." She pulled his head down, her lips a breath away from his. "Forever. No more running. No more doubts. Just us against the world." He kissed her with everything he had. All the fear from the past week. All the love he'd been holding back. All the desperate need to make her understand she was his entire universe. She kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands tangling in his hair, her body pressing against his. "Need you." His voice was rough with desire. "Right now. I need to know this is real. Then take me." She pulled her sweater over her head, revealing bare skin underneath. "Show me I made the right choice." Min-jae lifted her into his arms, carrying her to the bedroom. But this time he didn't rush. This time he wanted to savor every second. He laid her on the bed gently, following her down. His hands traced the curves of her body like he was relearning sacred ground. "You're so beautiful." He kissed her neck, her collarbone, the valley between her breasts. "So perfect. So mine." She arched into his touch, her breath coming faster. "I missed this. Missed you touching me. I'll touch you every day for the rest of our lives." He removed her jeans slowly, kissing every inch of skin as it was revealed. I'll worship you every morning and every night until you forget what it feels like to doubt this. When she was finally bare beneath him, he took a moment just to look. To memorize the way she looked in the moonlight streaming through the windows. Her brown skin glowed. Her curves called to his hands. Her eyes held nothing but love and trust. You're overdressed. She reached for his shirt, unbuttoning it with trembling fingers. I want to feel your skin against mine. He helped her strip away his clothes until nothing separated them but air and desire. Then he covered her body with his skin to skin, heart to heart. The sensation was overwhelming. Every nerve ending fired at once. Heat and need crashed through him like a tidal wave. Love you. He entered her slowly, watching her face as pleasure bloomed across her features. I'll love you until the day I die. I love you too. She wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him deeper. Make me forget I was ever afraid. Make me forget everything but this. He made love to her with an intensity born of desperation and relief. Every thrust said what words couldn't. That she was his air, his light, his reason for existing. That losing her would have destroyed him completely. That having her back was a miracle he would never take for granted. She moved with him, matching his rhythm, her nails digging into his back. The pleasure built between them, winding tighter and tighter until neither could hold back any longer. When she cried out his name, shattering in his arms, he followed her over the edge, buried deep inside her where he belonged. They lay tangled together afterward, both trembling and breathless. Min-jae rolled to his side, pulling her against him so they lay face to face in the darkness. Marry me. The words came out raw and honest. Not because of a deal or obligation. Marry me because you can't imagine your life without me in it, the same way I can't imagine mine without you. She didn't hesitate. Yes, I'll marry you. Tomorrow. He kissed her softly. I'll get a license, find an officiant, make you mine legally and officially before you can change your mind again. She laughed, the sound like music to his ears. I'm not changing my mind. I'm all in Kong Min-jae. For better or worse, in danger and in safety I'm yours. And I'm yours. He pulled her even closer, needing to feel every inch of her against him. My heart, my soul, my life. All of it belongs to you now. They made love again, slower this time, exploring and savoring. He kissed every inch of her body, learning what made her gasp and moan. She did the same to him, her touches driving him wild with need. When they finally came together again, it felt like coming home. As dawn broke over the city, they lay wrapped in each other's arms, exhausted and complete. Becky traced the scars on his chest, her touch feather light. No more running, she whispered the promise against his skin. No matter what comes, we face it together. Together. He agreed, kissing the top of her head. Always together. Outside the city woke up to a new day. Inside the penthouse, two people who had been broken and lost had found each other and become whole. The danger wouldn't disappear. His enemies would still threaten them. Life would still be complicated and difficult. But they had each other, and that made everything else bearable. Becky had walked into his darkness and refused to leave. She had chosen love over safety, passion over peace, him over everything else. And in doing so, she had given him the greatest gift imaginable. A reason to live. A reason to hope. A reason to believe that even someone as damaged and dangerous as him deserved happiness. He tightened his arms around her sleeping form, breathing in the scent of her hair. 5 days ago he had been dying inside, the numbness creeping back in, stealing away everything she had given him. But she had come back. She had chosen him. And now, holding her in his arms as the sun rose on their new life together, Kong Min-jae finally understood what it meant to be truly alive. Not just feeling physical sensations or emotions, but having something worth living for. Someone worth dying for. A future worth fighting for. She stirred in her sleep, unconsciously pressing closer to him. He smiled, something that came easier now. Tomorrow they would deal with his enemies. Tomorrow they would plan a wedding and figure out how to blend their two very different worlds. Tomorrow they would start building a life together. But today, right now, in this moment, they were just two people who loved each other completely. And that was enough. That was everything. I love you, Becky. He whispered the words against her temple even though she was still asleep. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for being brave enough to love someone like me. She didn't answer, lost in dreams. But her hand found his in her sleep, fingers intertwining. Even unconscious she reached for him. Even in sleep she chose him. And that was all the answer he needed. 6 months later the yacht rocked gently on the Han River just outside Seoul. White flowers draped every surface and soft music played from hidden speakers. The autumn sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Becky stood in the yacht's master cabin, looking at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple but elegant, ivory silk that hugged her curves and flowed to the floor. No veil, just the jade hairpin woven into her natural curls. She touched the jade bracelet on her other wrist, a gift from Min-jae, something new for luck. A knock at the door made her turn. Her mother entered, tears already streaming down her face. Oh, my baby. Adebola pressed her hands to her chest. You look like a queen. Feel like I'm dreaming. Becky smoothed her dress nervously. What if I wake up and none of this is real? It's real and you deserve every bit of happiness coming to you. Her mother took her hands. I know I was hesitant about Min-jae at first. But these past months, seeing how he treats you, how he looks at you like you hung the moon and stars, I know you made the right choice. He's a good man, Mama. Despite everything else, he has a good heart. He's a dangerous man who loves you more than life itself. That makes him good enough for me. Adebola kissed her daughter's forehead. Now come. Your future husband is wearing a hole in the deck with his pacing. On deck Min-jae stood with Young-ho beside him, both men in sharp black suits. But Min-jae kept tugging at his tie. His usual confidence replaced with nervous energy. Hyung, you need to relax. Young-ho adjusted his friend's collar for the 3rd time. She already said yes. She's not going to run. What if she changes her mind? What if she realizes she deserves better than a criminal who puts her in danger? Min-jae ran his hand through his hair. What if this is all a mistake? Then you're an idiot. The old teacher appeared from the other side of the deck. His weathered face creased with amusement. That woman loves you. Anyone with eyes can see it. Stop doubting and start enjoying your wedding day. Before Min-jae could respond, the music changed. Everyone turned toward the cabin entrance. And then Becky appeared. Time stopped. The world narrowed to just her, walking toward him, the sunset backlighting her like she was an angel descended from heaven. Min-jae forgot how to breathe, forgot how to think. All he could do was stare at the woman who had saved his life in every way a person could be saved. She reached him and he took her hands in his. They were trembling. Both of them were trembling. Eh. She smiled up at him, tears glistening in her eyes. Eh. He smiled back, his own eyes burning. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The ceremony was short but meaningful. They had written their own vows. And when it came time to speak them, Min-jae's voice was thick with emotion. Becky, for years ago I died inside. I lost the ability to feel joy, love, desire, anything that made me human. I accepted that I would live the rest of my life as an empty shell. He squeezed her hands. Then you performed onto that stage and brought me back to life. You gave me hope when I had none. You gave me love when I thought I was unlovable. You gave me a future when all I saw was darkness. His voice cracked. I promise to spend every day of our lives together proving I'm worthy of the gift you've given me. I promise to protect you, cherish you, and love you with everything I am. You're my miracle and I'll never forget that. Becky could barely see him through her tears. Min-jae, when I came to Korea I thought I was searching for money to save my family. But what I found was so much more. I found a man who saw me, truly saw me, when I felt invisible. A man who made me feel precious and powerful and loved beyond measure. She took a shaky breath. Your world is dangerous and our life will never be normal. But I would rather have one day of this incredible love than a lifetime of safety without you. You're my home, my heart, my forever. And I promise to stand by your side through everything. To love you through the darkness and the light. And to never let you forget that you deserve to be happy. There wasn't a dry eye on the yacht as the officiant pronounced them husband and wife. When Min-jae kissed her, the small gathering erupted in cheers. But the couple heard none of it. They were lost in each other, sealing their promises with a kiss that tasted like salt and love and forever. The reception was intimate, just close family and the few people Min-jae trusted with his life. They ate amazing food, danced under the stars, and celebrated love winning against impossible odds. Later, as the yacht sailed slowly along the river, Becky found Min-jae standing at the railing, looking out at the dark water. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her cheek against his back. "What are you thinking about?" She felt his heart beating, steady and strong under her palm. "About how different my life is now compared to 6 months ago. How much has changed." He turned in her arms, pulling her against him. "I have a wife, a family, a reason to wake up every morning. You gave me all of that. We gave it to each other." She looked up at him. "You gave me love I never knew existed. You gave me security and support for my family. You made my dreams possible." Speaking of dreams, he pulled back slightly, his expression nervous again. "I know you've been taking online classes, but I was thinking, what if you could go to a real university? Get your degree properly. I can arrange security, make sure you're safe on campus." Her heart swelled. "You would do that? Even though it means I'd be away from you during the day. I want you to have everything you ever dreamed of. If education is your dream, then I'll make it happen." He cupped her face. "I don't want you to give up who you are just because you married me. I want you to grow and thrive and become everything you're meant to be." She kissed him deeply, pouring all her love into it. "Have I mentioned today that I love you? Not in the last hour." His hand slid down to her waist, pulling her closer. "You should probably remedy that." "Love you." She kissed his jaw. "Love you." His neck. "Love you." His lips. "And I'll never stop loving you." He groaned and swept her up into his arms, carrying her toward their private cabin. "If we stay out here, I'm going to make love to my wife right here on the deck where everyone can see. Maybe later." She laughed as he kicked open the cabin door. "But right now I want you all to myself." They made love on their wedding night with the gentle rocking of the yacht beneath them. It was passionate and tender, desperate and slow, everything all at once. He touched her like she was made of precious glass. She gave herself to him completely, holding nothing back. Afterward they lay tangled together, his hand resting possessively on her hip. "I have something to tell you." Her voice was quiet in the darkness. "Something I found out yesterday." Tensed. "What is it? Are you okay? Are you in danger?" "No, nothing like that." She took his hand and moved it from her hip to her lower belly. "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then she felt wetness on her shoulder and realized he was crying. "Min-jae." She turned to face him, alarmed by his tears. "Are you okay? Is this not good news?" "It's the best news." His voice broke as he pressed his palm flat against her stomach. "Baby. Baby. A piece of you and me combined into something new and beautiful and innocent. Are you scared?" She wiped his tears gently. Terrified, he admitted. "I don't know how to be a father. My own father was a monster. What if I don't know how to be good? What if I hurt them the way I was hurt?" "You won't," she said it with absolute certainty. "'Cause you know what it feels like to be hurt. You'll protect them from ever feeling that way. 'Cause you know what it's like to be numb and empty. You'll make sure they feel loved and cherished every single day. You'll be an amazing father, Min-jae. Have no doubt about that." He kissed her belly reverently. "Hello in there, little one. This is your father. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I promise I'll learn. I promise I'll love you more than anything in this world. And I promise I'll spend my whole life making sure you and your mother are safe and happy." Becky felt tears slide down her own cheeks. Watching this powerful, dangerous man transform into someone soft and vulnerable because of their unborn child was the most beautiful thing she had ever witnessed. "Do you want to know what the doctor said?" She ran her fingers through his hair. "Tell me everything. It's a boy." Joy radiated from her voice. "We're having a son." Something in Min-jae's expression shifted, softened, became almost holy in its intensity. "Son." A little boy with your eyes and your smile and your kind heart. And your strength and your determination and your fierce love, she added. He moved back up to hold her properly, his hand never leaving her belly. 6 months ago I thought my life was over. I thought the best I could hope for was existing without really living. But you changed everything. You gave me back my ability to feel. You gave me love. You gave me hope. And now you're giving me a family. You gave me all those things too. She kissed him softly. We saved each other. They fell asleep like that, his hand protective over their growing son, their hearts beating in sync. Outside, the yacht continued its gentle journey through the night. Inside, two people who had been broken and lost had found wholeness in each other's arms. The next morning they stood on deck watching the sunrise. Min-jae stood behind Becky, his arms wrapped around her, his hands resting on the slight swell of her belly that held their son. Can you feel that? His voice was filled with wonder. He's moving. Becky placed her hands over his. He knows his father's voice already. He rested his chin on her shoulder, and when he spoke his voice was thick with emotion. You didn't just give me back my desire, Becky. You gave me back my humanity, my future, my everything. You gave me a reason to be better, to do better, to want more from life than just survival. She turned in his arms, reaching up to cup his face. And you gave me a love I never knew existed. A love that's fierce and protective and all-consuming. A love that makes me brave enough to face anything. They kissed as the sun rose fully over the horizon, painting the world in gold and promise. Their journey had been unconventional, dangerous, built on a foundation that should never have worked. A business deal that became so much more. But love rarely made sense. It didn't follow rules or logic. Just existed, powerful and transformative, changing everything it touched. Kang Min-jae had been dead inside, a walking ghost going through the motions of living. Becky Adeyemi had been struggling to survive, sacrificing her dreams to save her family. Together they had found something neither knew they needed. Not just love but salvation, redemption, a second chance at life when both had thought their stories were already written. As they stood on that yacht watching the waves sparkle in the morning light, with their son growing inside her and their future stretching out bright and full of possibility, they knew one truth with absolute certainty. They had been brought together by need and money and desperation. But they would stay together because of choice and love and commitment. Whatever dangers lay ahead, whatever challenges they would face them together. Forever bound by a love that had literally brought a dead man back to life and given a lost woman a home. Their story was just beginning, and it was going to be extraordinary. Did their love story touch your heart? Subscribe and hit that like button to see more incredible romance stories where love conquers all against impossible odds. Your support helps us bring you more passionate tales of love, danger, and redemption. Don't miss the next unforgettable journey.